the gate with Timberwolves point guard Mike Conley, kind enough to join us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. A terrific show, I think, from start to finish today. A couple of other very distinguished guests, but Mike now joins us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. How are you, sir?
Doing good. How about you?
Doing very well. Good to hear your voice, as always. There's a lot to discuss. I want to start with, I thought, a really interesting series of observations from Draymond Green in an attempt to define, in his mind, the difference between regular season players and what he calls, the way he puts it is, there's 82-game players and there are 16-game players. And he believes, in a perfect world, you got players who are great at both, but that there is a difference. He says, you realize the difference in intensity, you realize the difference in the amount of focus, you realize how much more you have to raise your level. And he goes on to say, look, you see it. You start to see some people fold, guys who you watched all regular season, and then they get in the playoffs, and you're like, whoa, who is that? So I'm curious, as a guy who's been around even longer than Draymond Green, whether you agree with his assessment or how you would maybe distinguish between what he calls 82-game players and 16-game players.
Well, I think that the playoffs and the regular season, they're just like two different games in a sense, two different styles of basketball that, I think what he was referring to is, in the regular season, you prepare for people, 24 hours in advance. Most times, it's about as much notice, as much preparation you'll get, or same-day preparation to play against somebody. In playoffs, you're getting, the whole gamut of scouting reports and film and, everything that they like to do. You're looking at, hours upon hours of film study just for, a series. So, you get a lot of your strengths are taken away. A lot of your weaknesses are exposed. And that normally happens in the playoffs. So I think, when the playoffs happen, the guys who shine, the guys who play the best are those who are able to still be themselves or overcome that, regardless of teams that, scheme the way they play you, or how physical the game becomes, or how much free throws aren't as easy to come by. Like, there's a bunch of different situations that can aid in guys, having positive regular seasons, and then also aid in, things being tougher for them at the playoffs.
That's exactly what he gets into. He says the fouls called or pulled back a bit. I think one of the beautiful things the NBA does and the referees do is you have to go win. You're not getting bailed out. When you look back on your career and the first couple of times you were in the playoffs, how did you process it? Was it stark? Did you feel it immediately? Does it take time to figure it out, or did you figure it out from the beginning, do you think?
I was in my first playoff series against the Spurs, and that dynasty they had. Yeah. It was on the road, so it was a shock, to say the least. My first go around at it, but I was lucky enough to have the vets around me and guys around me who didn't put so much on my plate, to where the pressure wasn't as steep as it probably could have been, and which allowed me to just play, the game I know how to play. And I always was physical enough, or tough enough to handle the bump and physicality and all that stuff. So that wasn't necessarily the issue. It was just like a lot of the, every moment counted just that much more. Every possession seemed like it had carried a little bit more weight, and that took some time getting used to, game in and game out.
How about the thinking side of it? That's another, I thought, interesting point Draymond made. You bring in some guys and you're like, man, we've played against this guy, he's crushed us. Regular season basketball is the way he describes it. You bring those guys in, they get to the playoffs, they can't think straight. So you quickly realize, there's guys that are made for this 82, and there's guys that are made for the 16. You've always been known as a very cerebral player. How big a jump is there in terms of the importance of basketball IQ?
Well, I think that's imperative to postseason success. You see all the best teams the teams that they end up winning it, or the teams that go, long in the playoffs, are those who, match their skill set with their IQ and their ability to think their way through the game. I think historically the game has always kind of slowed down in the playoffs, and it's become more of a slugfest. And obviously today's game is still played with a lot of pace, but it still becomes more possessions and how to execute against different looks. Because like I said, they're going to take away your favorite options. They're going to take away your favorite moves. They're going to take away your favorite plays. And I think in regular season, there's not that much emphasis, or teams aren't trying to throw everything at teams, just to show their hands. So, in every, regular season game. So it's more of a baseline standardized defense on a lot of things. And in the playoffs, they'll throw, every single wrench at you. And those who can think their way through can have success. And those who just, are used to just running up and down, or just trying to get free layups, or just play super fast and quick and with no real direction, they can be kind of tough and challenging when you get, when the rubber meets the road in that regard.
Mike Conley, kind enough to join us right off the top of the program. At least on paper, Mike, it looks like this is a departure. This playoff run might be a departure for you, because I don't think we believe, unless you can tell us you've been told differently, that there are built-in minutes with you being a main guy, obviously a starter for a long period of time, and even a main guy off the bench. What can you tell us about that? What the coaches tell you, what your expectations are in a very different role, obviously, than you've had here historically, or anywhere historically?
Yeah, honestly, my role, over the last couple of weeks has been relayed to me as just stay ready.
Mm-hmm.
This pretty much has been it, is be ready. And I think the last couple of weeks has been really good for myself and a lot of guys to get minutes and play a little bit bigger roles, just to get a good rhythm, because, as the playoffs, it doesn't matter what you did in the regular season. Sometimes some guys do have a great regular season, and then, can't play them in the first series, but in the second series they start and they do well, and just matchups are such a pivotal thing. So, like for me, I'm honestly just trying to stay ready and be ready if my number gets called at any point in a series, or further down the line, or if there's a certain defensive matchup or offensive matchup or something that needs to be utilized for a certain situation, just be ready to go.
I wonder also if you can maybe expound on what the message might be more generally from your head coach, because I thought after that last regular season game, he seemed to be conveying, at least publicly, a very direct message to the players, which was, we all have kind of agreed that we got to do what we got to do. And it can't be about what I'm used to getting. It can't be about how many shots I get. It can't be about, well, I'm the guy who's supposed to be out there for a certain matchup. That I kind of, as head coach, need to do what I have to do. And that may mean using different combinations within a game, within certain matchups that develop. Has he talked to you guys about that directly? And am I reading that right?
Yeah, he's made that apparent to all of us, that it's simple, it's how much do we want to win at this point of the, in our season. And if we're all about it, there is no, worrying about minutes, worrying about if you played the game before, or if you're supposed to be promised to play the game after, like all that's, it doesn't matter. Coach is going to do whatever it is that he feels best, whatever lineup he feels at a certain time. We have to just be ready to jump out there and execute. So all our guys are on board, and we have a deep roster. We have a lot of guys playing well right now, and TJ's been playing well, like Jalen, and Joe had a game the other day that was awesome. I mean, we just got a lot of guys who are in really good rhythm. So if any of those guys' numbers get called, or they become rotational players, or and minutes get cut for other people, like, we just all got to be on board with it.
What is your, if you look back on this season, if you go back to before the season began, I would think if you guys were polled or answered the question honestly, you'd say, well, if we finish in the 6th spot again, we're going to be disappointed. We should be a top 4 team. Now, ultimately, you're always going to be judged on the postseason, but that this should be, that you guys should be more than in the 6th spot. What do you think?
I agree. I think that we all expected to do better, have a way better regular season. I mean, we look back on our year and you can count, how many games that we should have won given time, score, possession, all this stuff late in games, and all these opportunities we kind of let slip, and moments on our schedule where it wasn't as tough and we didn't take advantage of it, putting a lot of pressure on us when our schedule did get tough. So there's just a lot that we look back on and say, hey, we could have had, 5 to 6, 7, 8 more wins that that could easily have been on our record and be looking at, a different, obviously a different seed and different route to our ultimate goal.
Nevertheless, you are where you are, and you do have some playoff equity, obviously, with the 2 runs the last 2 seasons. A year ago, you guys went in, obviously finished really strong regular season. Randall came back from injury and played, I think, his best basketball from that point forward. Teams have had more injuries this time around. That has to be factored in, too. So how, again, as a veteran guy, how do you and how does Finchie tap into what this group, we think, can do? It's the old issue of, well, can you switch it on and off? It's a dangerous approach to take, but what are you looking for? What will be the signs for you that, what, we might have another run in us here? What are you going to be looking for?
Well, I think it's our level of competing. When I look back at all the times in the last few seasons where at this point of the year where we've played our best, it's been under similar circumstances where you have, the world doesn't think we can beat a team, and it's all but written off that that we're going to lose a series or whatever it is, and our back's against the wall and things aren't looking great. Is when you get the best version of our guys. We play better angry. We play better and play more with a purpose when there's things being said or people stop believing in certain things. So I think we're in a great spot. Honestly, I think that it's a much better spot. I'd be more worried if we were the 2 seed and comfortable. We're more worried about getting comfortable than where we're at right now. So it's trying to get the most out of our individual guys, and I think our best version of our team is capable of being one of the best team in the NBA. So we just have to tap into that emotion, tap into that pissed off nature that we can get to, and I think we can do it. Denver
is a great matchup, right? You guys know each other well. This is the 3rd playoff series that largely these groups where you played against each other. They got one. Obviously, you got one as well. You know each other extremely well. When I try to handicap this thing, I sort of view, and I know this is probably oversimplifying it, but I sort of view the key issue from your standpoint might be Jamal Murray, because in the series where they beat you, he was dominant. In the series you beat them, he was limited. And I think a lot of that was you guys frustrated him. He may not have been 100% healthy, but I also think you guys got in his grill a little bit, and he was nowhere near what he's capable of being. Now, he's had a great regular season. So what's the key? You're not going to stop him, obviously, but to harass him, to make things a little more difficult where he's not as comfortable as he looks. Is that a key to this series, would you say?
Well, yeah, he's a huge focal point. Honestly, it's one of the main keys when we look up on the board is, when we do have success, what does it look like? It's games where he's not going crazy, honestly, and we're able to limit him enough to find a way to win, and it's tough. He's a very smart player, moves without the ball well. He's able to make big plays, big shots, and big moments. So our defense just has to be on a string. We have to be able to throw guys at him, throw bodies at him, and try to wear him down as much as we can, because there's no like really stopping anybody like that. You just you try to wear him down slowly but surely, like a 12-round boxing match, and eventually you hang around long enough, you may be able to sneak out with a win. So hopefully we continue to prioritize that as we go on through the series and see if we can accomplish it.
Is Joker still the best player in the league?
Yeah. I mean, there's a few guys that you can put up there, but he's preparing for him is probably one of the hardest parts of our job. You don't prepare for many guys like that. So there's a lot of times you look up on the board and you just like, well, just what are you supposed to do? You let him score, or you make him play make, or like what? Like you don't have a right answer for most things he does. So he's just really, really talented, and obviously we got our hands full, but we've weathered the storm before, so hopefully we can again.
Denver, even they kind of admit this. They don't guard this version of them particularly well. Statistically speaking, they're way down. Their offense is probably second to none. But they haven't really guarded. Now, they guarded a little better, they think, during this winning streak they ended the season on. So I guess it's the old question of where do you press for the advantage? Is it trying to score on them or outscore them, or do you think it's still more, look, part of our calling card when we're playing right is good defense. And so we might, again, not be able to exactly shut them out, but we've got to be able to apply some pressure where maybe their offense isn't quite state-of-the-art. Is it more on the offensive end or the defensive end if you guys win this series?
I still think it's our defense, which has to kind of lead the way. As good as their offense is, there's opportunity for us when we're playing the right way and playing physical and allowed to be physical. We can really just be disruptive, and I think that does well for our offense in that regard. Then our offense kind of picks up and can now start flowing a little bit easier and better. And there will be points in the series and in games where you're going to be trading buckets, and our offense is going to have to carry that weight and continue to keep up, and then eventually you have to hang your hat back on defense, because no way you beat this team by giving up point after point after point in big moments and later in games.
Last item, one of Anthony Edwards' strengths has been over the course of his career is how few games he's missed. He's been incredibly durable. He's not been even anywhere near a load management guy. That's against the philosophy of this organization, I think. But he has missed more games this year. And now he's sort of had this chronic situation with the knee, which sounds very similar, I guess, to what Steph Curry is dealing with. We know what Edwards' mindset, where he can get to, right? When he's doubted, and again, when he feels like this is my game, I'm going to take it over. What do you see physically from him, though? That's my concern is, will we be able to see the best that he might have to offer mentally? Is he there physically, in your view?
I believe he will be. When those lights come on, he's always figuring out a way. He's always upbeat. Practice days has been looking great. He's been going through everything and participating and taking care of his body as well. He understands how important this time is for him to get in this week and these extra couple of days to kind of get a lot of work in on his body, his knee, to stay on top of that to try to, reduce a lot of the, situation he's feeling or being uncomfortable or whatever it is, and so that he's ready to go, starting game one and ready to go at his, playing at his standard and what he believes he should play at. So I have no doubt that he'll be ready to go.
Did you happen to watch any of the play-in stuff last night?
I did. I watched the Charlotte game with my kids, and ironically enough, the reason we were watching it because they were cheering on my old team. They were saying since I got traded there, so I was like, all right,
that's too good. That's so funny.
Let's watch it, and but it was good. It was good.
Yeah, well, and they I didn't know if I would love the whole play-in concept or not, but I thought the games last night were definitely entertaining and crazy, obviously, as it lays out. What do you think? Should LaMelo? Should be suspended for the move with Io? What do you think? With Bam, I should say.
Bam. Yeah. That's really tough. I don't want him to be suspended because I know what he means for that team in the game. I want to see him, competing, but obviously that's in that game it's something that you would have to have handled right then, and whether he gets flagrant 2 or whatever they decide at that moment would have been the right situation at that moment. But coming back at it, I just don't want to see him miss a game because I think it'd be better for us as fans, watching the game and seeing what they can do.
Great to catch up. Best of luck in the playoffs, and we'll stay in touch. Hopefully this will be another long run. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
You. Absolutely. Mike Conley, great stuff and analysis from him. He's admittedly probably in a little different role than he's been, and yet I don't think you can rule anything out. The way Finchie has set it up for situational, kinds of circumstances, and where you might see a little of Mike, maybe even a little more Mike than you expect. Injuries enter into the mix. You can never be sure, whatever the best laid plans might be. A lot of times there's twists and turns, man, in the playoffs that are very difficult to see coming. I agree with him, by the way. I don't think you're going to outscore Denver. That's their calling card this year, especially. That's their forte. I think you have to use what one of your advantages is. You're a better defensive team than Denver. They're better in a number of other ways, at least over the course of this regular season. But you have people who can guard. You got two-way players. They got to do it. And that means at least maybe for a quarter at a time, you take a little bit away from what they're used to doing offensively. If the Wolves are going to win this series, I just don't think it can be the classic shootout. Obviously, the Wolves have scores, but you play to your strengths. And I think that was Conley's point, and that still, relatively speaking, can be a strength for the Wolves. We now have the time set, correct? And is Game 2 at 10:30 Central or 9:30?
No, that should be 9:30.
Oh, okay. So it's 10:30 Eastern. For a minute there, I thought it was 10:30 Central. That would be late. Has there ever been a game that has started as late as 10:30 Central?
Playoffs?
I doubt it, right? Unless it's a circumstance where you're moving a game back a bit because of what's come before.
Yeah.
9:30 probably means more like 9:45, right?
Yes.
The way it usually works?
Yes.
And all these games, this whole series is on Prime? Is that correct?
No, that is not correct.
That's incorrect. Okay.
No, the first game is on Prime.
All right. And then we're moving it?
I think NBC on Monday night.
Game 2?
Yes. I'm trying to find the schedule for
and
you.
And then Game 3 is Thursday, I believe.
Correct. We go Thursday, Saturday.
And once again, it's the late game, right?
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
Which probably means we won't broadcast from there either. Although I do have an APB out for the Timberwolves president of basketball operations.
Is that right?
It would be nice to catch up with him. We know we're going to catch up with Bill Guerin.
Yeah.
That's on Friday. Remind me later, I had an interesting text exchange with the Wild general manager earlier today.
Is that right?
And as usual, it's my effort to kind of smoke him out on the goaltender. I don't know if I made any progress, but I'll leave it to others to decide. Remember, Kessler in studio today at 5:30. And close circuit to Fallness. Calm down. 402, Tim Collishaw to talk nothing but hockey.
That's right.
He will give us a Dallas Stars scouting report. Collishaw has been a legendary columnist in Dallas, a former teammate of mine way back when. That's how far back he goes with the Dallas Morning News. He's been in radio. He's been on, what was the TV show he was on?
Around the Horn.
Around the Horn. Very successful there. Collishaw is a huge hockey guy. So he'll give us a Dallas Stars scouting report, or maybe even his own impressions from afar of the Minnesota Wild. That is scheduled for 4:02 today. Do we have times yet on that series?
We don't, because the regular season's not over for the NHL. That ends tonight.
So we'll probably get it tomorrow, we're hoping.
Why wait? Or why not wait? Just do Friday. Just let us know.
We know it will be a Saturday game, right? Game 1 is Saturday.
That's what we believe, yes.
Could it be simultaneous?
Yes.
Yeah.
Likely it is the rumor, because there's 2 afternoon windows.
And the TV for the Wild would be on what? Do we know that yet, even?
I think for NHL, you can still do local.
Okay. Because, again, it's going to be... I'm already annoyed if it's at the same time, because that means going between the streaming service on Prime and trying to go back and forth with your regular TV to get the Minnesota Wild game against the Stars. I don't like that.
Wolves game 1, 2:30 Saturday on Prime. Wolves game 2, Monday, 9:30 on NBC.
Okay.
Wolves game 3, Thursday, 8:30 on Prime.
Right.
Game 4,
Saturday
7:30.
Oh, it's 7:30.
Yeah,
okay.
7:30 Saturday night on ABC. Those are the first 4 that we know. Were you watching the playing game last night on Prime?
Yes.
Did you get into the technical difficulty meat grinder?
I should say, when did that take place?
Like a minute left in either regulation or overtime.
Well, that's I got in trouble with my daughter because I was supposed to pick her up from dance.
But you lost yourself in the playing game.
I did. I kept putting it off, but then it reached a point where I can't keep waiting, especially when it went into OT.
Yeah.
So at the point where the power failure took place and the game was not available via Prime, Prime.
Yep.
I missed that. That was about a 2-minute. Stretch.
You couldn't make it up.
Yeah.
And I was watching with my kids, not to cheer for my old team like Mike Conley's kids were, which is brilliant.
How good is that?
The Hornets. But you're in that negotiating phase where
who knows what his influence might have been for the 4 or 5 hours.
It might have helped.
Who's to say?
They looked pretty. They executed down the stretch.
They sure did.
But they want to stay up and watch because the game has gotten kind of good.
Yes.
And then it goes overtime, which is an L for me as a dad because I'm trying to get him to bed. Then I think it's going to go double overtime, and it's just crazy. But the power failure, kids are not used to waiting for anything.
No.
They skip ad. What are these commercials? They hate everything. So the
screen just go blank?
Yeah. Okay. In the top right corner, it still said Prime. Like it kind of had the silhouette, the stamp that they would have.
No picture.
No picture. So my kids are like, what's going on? We got to X out. I'm like, it can't be an X out situation. We're looking at it right there.
Yeah.
Prime is still there. Something happened.
There's no reboot you can do.
Didn't stop them from Xing out.
Yeah,
and
trying.
We came back, and it must have come back in the interim, but it's too good that...
Yeah, you can't make it up.
Terrible that happens.
Yeah.
Because this is supposed to be...
Yeah.
It's the playoffs, man. Even though it's Mitch Lawrence's playing, it's still the playoffs. It's still a big deal.
2 outstanding games, I have to say. Both of them were highly entertaining. I'm not militant either way on the play-in. I don't necessarily love it. I wasn't, getting up on the bully pulpit saying this is the worst thing that's ever happened to the league. I do like the fact that the games were good.
Yes.
Compelling, controversial, obviously in the case of the first game as well. I knew sooner or later I'd be vindicated on my LaMelo Ball take. I think, 5-6 years later, I'm finally being vindicated. Well, the one thing, though, he can't do his guard. They do go at him, but, man, he made some plays again last night. Of course, unfortunately, one of them rather dirty early. Let's get caught up, set up the rest of a very busy program, and apologize to all you folks who, they counted on us when it comes to the Minnesota Twins. I said yesterday, you can believe in them. Now it's time. Put all your angst and hate aside. This Twins club is for real. And then what do? Well, we'll get to that. To the LaMelo Ball story in a moment because a lot of tantalizing texts have come in on it. Text exchange with Bill Guerin today. Here's what I started the chain with this. Do you care who I believe should start game 1?
It's frustrating.
Guerin, no, but you can give me your opinion. And then he does the thinking emoji or like a curious emoji.
Yeah.
Like he might actually be a little curious.
I'm sure he's wondering.
I replied, I didn't want to go this way because it's often knee-jerk. But I believe the goalies themselves have made the decision for you. Has to be the kid. Guerin, we shall see. Me, vanilla answer. Guerin, very.
But you know what?
Almost full vanilla bean. We'll catch up with Garen live on the program.
There's a preview of Friday's appearance. You're really teasing it.
That's it. That's exactly it. Now, here's what's interesting to me. And I don't know if it means anything, but I want it to mean something. He gave a vanilla answer, but he didn't dismiss my line of logic. He just said, we shall see. Everybody believes the decision's already been made, which fascinates me even more. Is it fair to say that Volstead looked better again last night than the incumbent did previous game?
Yeah, he looked good, I thought, last night.
I did too.
Yeah.
Again, how do you rank the importance of it? The game's meaningless. The positioning is our positioning. I don't know. Did we sit as many people last night as we did the game before?
I don't have the attendance.
I honestly don't even know.
There was some omissions.
But, yeah, I mean, that's where this is Wednesday. Game 1 is until Saturday. But that's where I am now. Because my original thought was, no, of course you start the incumbent. Yes, that's what you do. It's just, you can't overreact to anything. But I just believe sometimes there reaches a point that even if that's where you want to go, because you think it's the rational approach to take, circumstances intrude sometimes. And I think force your hand to a certain degree. Let's remember something else. I thought the stat was laid out again today. The breakdown between the two goalies, percentage of games, I think it ended up being 60-40. 60-40 ain't 90-10. 60-40 ain't, 80-20. 60-40 is shaded towards one guy over the other guy, right? And to me, that feels like they got co-goaltenders to a certain extent, or pretty close to it, where I don't think it's radical or irrational to say, start the kid. So that's pretty much, now, could I have an epiphany next couple days? Could some of the hockey people I trust try to sit me down and say, no, here's why you start with the guy who is kind of the incumbent, and then work it from there with the short leash. But as of right now, if you forced me to make the decision, I'm going to start Volstead, and I'm again going to say I didn't want to. I didn't want to do what is the with it and wow popular wisdom, which is, one guy's playing big. You got to do this. Let's just do it. Throw caution in the wind. I don't usually like doing I don't think that's the way really successful franchises operate. But I also think at some point, the people in charge have a right to say, I didn't plan this, but I have to trust my eyes at some point.
Right.
And again, it doesn't mean you're rejecting Gus Bus forever. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that I'm going to start the guy I think who's just playing better, and then all bets are off. We'll see where it goes from there. It could last exactly one game, especially if he's not particularly effective. On the other hand, a goalie can be ineffective, and you can come to the conclusion that it was more about the people in front of him. And I'm with Louis. I mean, Louis said it again yesterday. Louis is not exactly knee-jerk guy when it comes to these sorts of decisions. He really isn't. And what did he say? He said, I get it. The defense wasn't always great in front of him, but I just don't like the way he's moving.
Right.
I just don't like the way he's reacting. Those are important issues when it comes to goaltending, that for whatever reason, right now, it's just not quite there for him. Well, as you often say, it ain't show friends, it's show business, man. Mm-hmm. This is it. This is taking your best shot, the best team you've had in a while, maybe ever. And I got to take my best shot at that. And it may not work out. But that's what I'm obligated to do. I'm obligated to look at what I've seen, even if my instinct is contrary to usually making this kind of move, that I'm repelled by the knee-jerk kind of idea of we're just going with Volstead. Does that make sense?
It does. And I'm trying to think about this on the fly because it's almost an anti-analytics, go with your gut move if you go with Gus Bus. Because right now the numbers would indicate, like we always say, everybody's by the book, they're by the computer, they just look at the numbers and they go. And that's what I think. You look at Great Wall of St. Paul, he's playing better by every metric here recently, including last night. But if you start the bus, you're really going on gut that he's going to figure it out. You're going on #faith almost and trust that he's a veteran. He's been here. I heard Wes Walls with PA earlier in the week saying...
What did he say? Did he have an opinion on this?
Well, this is before the game last night. He leaned still the veteran.
Okay.
He leaned still Gus Bus. And he brought up his past performances in the playoffs, his past performances against Dallas that have been pretty good. They've been decent. But you're hearkening back to, you're kind of going on, like I said, #faith and going back on hope a little bit, that we hope he can be the guy that we've seen him to be at different times. Not the guy that he's been the last couple of weeks or even since the Olympics, but the guy that we remember from when we wanted to give him a contract extension and gave him a contract extension, that guy. And that's, I think, scary when you're going in on hope. Doesn't mean it's impossible.
No, I don't.
But it's a much more, and again, you can't operate this way if you're the organization, but it's a much more rippable move if you go with him and it doesn't work out than if you go with Volstead and it doesn't work out.
You're responsible to the other players. That's got to be part of this. Is that we're all in this together, so I have to make a decision that I think is fair to everybody involved at this point. And it doesn't have to be a repudiation of one guy, but, and I don't know how direct they get. They call these guys in before they make this kind of decision, but I don't think you'd have to. I don't think you should be forced to apologize when you look at Gustafson and say, Gus, right now, this is sort of where we feel we are. We fully expect you're going to be an important part of this, but we got to make a call on this, and it just feels like, well, you wouldn't say this to Gus, but in your mind, you go, he's off just a little bit, and the timing's not great for us because they're not going to hold off on starting the playoffs, waiting for Gus to get back in the right frame of mind or to move better.
Time to go.
Yeah, it's time to go right now. All right, let's get caught up. And don't forget, Kessler at 5:30 today, and more hockey conversation with the old puckhead himself, Tim Collishaw, out of Dallas, Texas at 4:02. Talking about the news regarding Fauché Tower yesterday, facing, I think they call it foreclosure. Landmark, beautiful building. A lot of good stuff still in there, but a lot of empty space. There is apparently indication that several city council members believe that could be the location of the country's largest bathhouse. That could end up, everybody wins. Isn't it about filling the space? That's what we need, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
Plenty of room for, I think, you could probably several floors of a bathhouse. Are most bathhouses one floor? Who's to say?
Never been, but we could be innovative.
Yeah.
We could be cutting edge.
That could be the answer. No question about that. A lot of text coming in. I want to get to a couple regarding LaMelo Ball, who was the hero, ultimately, of Charlotte's come-from-behind victory over the Miami Heat, correct?
Yes.
And I think that was 10 versus 9. Miami was 10. Charlotte is 9. Charlotte finds a way to win in overtime. They were in deep trouble, late in regulation. And by the way, if you're a Chicago Bulls fan, how do you sleep at night? Who hit the big shot?
Kobe White.
Kobe White. Well, he hit several in the second half.
Yeah, the one that tied it.
But the one that tied it.
Yep.
Former Bull. Traded at the deadline by a general manager who's now gone. By the way, he got dismissed. And then Ayo Dosunmu here. So the question on the table is, should LaMelo, what LaMelo Ball did early to Bam Adebayo dirty? For me, the answer is clear. It was. Do I think he was trying to hurt Bam? I do not. I don't even think LaMelo's got a reputation as being a little bit goofy sometimes, not always concentrating the way he needs to. Incredible talent, but I don't think he's got much of a rep as a dirty player. Nevertheless, a non-dirty player can make a dirty play. So to me, if justice was served, that would end up being a flagrant 2, and he would be booted from the game. That said, there are people bitter about, replay stinks if you can't take care of that later. Well, there was no stoppage. If there had been stoppage, my guess is Miami would have had him look at it, but that's the way the rules are set up. There's got to be stoppage. There wasn't. And you know me, I'm anti-replay guy anyway, so how open-ended are you going to get? So, is it 4 minutes later, 9 minutes later? You can go forward and say, hey, we want to look back at that play for 10 minutes ago. I think it's a bad precedent to set. I don't think justice was done. I'll grant you that point on that play. I also don't think it rises to the level of suspension. And maybe I'm being soft on LaMelo. Do you think it's worthy of suspension?
I really struggle because it is dirty.
Yeah, it is. And dangerous.
Yeah. Really dangerous. And the problem is, it feels like the rules are different in the postseason than they are in the regular season.
Right.
Which I understand, but I also don't think that's necessarily right. Why should it be different?
Right.
I think everybody kind of assumes, even Mike Conley saying, I hope he doesn't get suspended because he means a lot to the team. It's almost like, where does that line get drawn if you're in the playoffs? Because during the regular season, I would bet they would probably come back and certainly do some type of punishment. Maybe they'll fine him today or tomorrow. I don't know. But that's where I struggle.
Well, how much should outcome matter to this discussion?
I don't think it should matter at all.
That's the tough, because a lot of people are reacting on the basis of the outcome. And I will say this, it's a dirty play, but he is already off balance and moving back, trying to save the ball in bounds, right? He's kind of falling out of bounds, which is why I don't think it's the worst missed call in history, on the spot. But some people I've listened to nationally have made it sound like this is a slam dunk, automatic suspension. He should die. Well, that might not be what they're saying, but pretty close to it. And I'm not sure that's true. I don't know. I think it's bootable. Am I contradicting myself? I say he should have been booted, but he shouldn't be suspended. I don't know. Because you could argue that, in effect, the suspension is trying to make up for the fact that you missed it on the spot, and that the player and the team needs to pay. Now, it's probably, you could argue Miami would say it's the wrong team that would be benefiting from that, because I don't think Carolina's quite as good if LaMelo Ball is not available, correct?
Not even close. He's
right?
a huge piece of that team.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know. Stay tuned. There's been no announcement yet.
Not that I've seen.
It's a big point of debate nationally and a very large story. I didn't watch as much of Game 2, but what I saw also was pretty competitive. And I know nothing about Portland, almost nothing. I guess I would say
they're plucky,
Portland, but they are plucky.
They play hard,
and maybe they're doing it for Chauncey. I don't know.
They're embattled head coach.
As Mitch Lawrence told us yesterday, we still don't have that investigation the results of the NBA investigation,
close.
Right?
We haven't heard anything.
We have not heard anything at all. You're 100% right. On the goalie decision, if Guerin is making that decision, we don't have a head coach. I was certainly not intending to imply that Guerin was making the decision.
Correct.
I was just trying to make conversation with him about the decision, about a pretty fateful decision early in this series. Look, I think we know Guerin runs this organization. He's a hands-on president of hockey operations for sure. But I have no reason to think that he's telling the head coach who he has to start in net. It's just the guy I talk to a little bit more from time to time. and wanted to try to get him going via text. I certainly didn't expect that he was going to spill the story, spill the beans. They'll go with the wall, right? 763 guy. It's just been too stark of late, even with Billy's tendency towards older players. That's what's interesting, because I do think that's the Guerin instinct. We certainly saw it play out with Flower.
Yes.
Correct?
Exactly right.
I would argue, I think we did, to the detriment of the team on that year. But that's the question. And again, I don't think Guerin's making this call. He might well have some influence, but I honestly don't. Kyle from Isanti, you got to go with the hot hand. We won with the experience last year, starting Flower, even though he wasn't playing well. Look how that worked out. Play the hot hand. Didn't we start Gus last year?
I don't remember. I could go back and look. I
thought we did. I thought Gus was the guy, but we'll double check.
I think 2 years ago was the Flower Talbot schism.
That was I thought last year. I think it was Gus Bus starting all of them last year, if I'm not mistaken. Who did we lose to last year? Was it Vegas?
Vegas.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when I checked the box scores, it was Gus Bus, but we'll double check that for sure. I'll tell you what. Let's stay on schedule. Top of the hour pause now. I'll give you some details. Twins did lose today, correct? Boston Red Sox get it done.
Yep.
In laugher fashion.
I think 9-1 was the final. It was
really
9-1 when I came in. 9-5. We made it a little interesting, I guess.
9-5? Yeah, because it was 9-1 at one point.
We scored 4 in the bottom of the ninth.
We don't stop.
We never give up.
We do not stop.
Twins pride.
Playing. Would we have scored those 4 runs if Rocco was still the manager?
Doubtful. Would we have scored any?
Yeah. I mean, that's what Fish will do to you. That's what all that Maui Wowie will do to you.
Brain rot.
Yeah, that's
lethargic.
it. There's no question about it. Back in just a minute right here on the